Greetings, fellow citizens of Disneyland. Bricky here with my friend Tony for this week's podcast. What we're talking about today is Disney's newest tricks to get everybody to spend as much as possible.
I love tricks. I love Pepper's Ghosts. So I'm curious. Let's do this.
You're all in? Something I've been fascinated about ever since I became a fan of Disneyland. And what drew me in is I have little to no meaningful connection to the movies. I love the Disneyland park as an art piece. I love the way that it was designed. As a lifelong illustrator and designer, when I walked into the park, I literally felt like I was walking into one illustration after the other. I have the trained eye to see the compositions of Disneyland and go, whoa, this is built just like an artist drawing board. Like I can see the composition of an artist in this piece that I'm actually walking through and living in. That was the thing that drew me into Disneyland. The next thing that drew me in was the business practice. As a lifelong entrepreneur and as somebody who's been a serial entrepreneur, only ever really worked for myself, the business practice of Disney was fascinating to me. And I find Disney in an interesting spot that supply and demand is one of the rules of business, right? If you have a lot of demand, then you can sort of raise your prices, right? Like if there's people willing to pay anything, well, you can just keep going up and up. But what's interesting with Disney's supply and demand is it doesn't seem that they can raise ticket prices enough to keep the park empty. Like they, every year, for over the last decade, they have raised the prices like clockwork. And it has put little or no effect on how busy the park feels. So what then they did, because the idea is you just can't have it so full of people that it's unusable, unlivable. So it's not that they're trying to like empty the park out. It's that they want a limited audience. And by limited audience, I mean, you want to have enough people in your park where they feel free to spend more money while they're there. Because if it's just all assholes and elbows, nobody can get around to do whatever they want to do, right? Like, well, the line's too long, I'm not going to go buy a drink, or this was too long, I didn't buy merch, and we couldn't get on any rides, so we left early. And even though you might get a ticket price off that person and parking, you didn't get all the other upsells, and they probably won't come back. So you need to have a balance where it's not enough to get caught up in gridlock. It's enough people so you can spend. So really what they're looking for is a quality of people, not a quantity of people. And don't get me wrong. When I say quality, it's not your morals, like, oh, we want people that just look this way or dress this way. No, they want a quality based on what you're willing to spend. Another way of putting that is they want to make each guest as valuable as possible to spend money. So one of the ideas they came up with on we will raise our prices annually, but what we will also do is we will squeeze more out of the current customer. And so there's now two tiers of pricing structures that are going on in the park. There's the traditional things that we have always spent money on, admission to get in, food and merchandise. But now there's this second tier of pricing. And it's insane because it's not raising prices. It's not saying, okay, well, a chicken sandwich was $5. Can we get it for $6.50? It's charging for things that were always free, which I think is the biggest magic trick financially that they've pulled off, because they have now found new pillars of financial success that wasn't even there before. Like somebody literally walked through the park and said, okay, if we can't price these fools out at the gate, can we then get more money off of all these other items to at least slow it down, right? Everything costs more, people do less, therefore the park is at a balance to where we can get more money per guest. So one of the very first things that we'll talk about, and we won't go into this too deep, is, and everybody knows this, is a thing that used to be free, that now the magic trick of Disney costs money, is the Lightning Lane or pay per ride for Rise of the Resistance. The FastPass used to be a free item, now it's an upcharge.
Yeah, it's gone the way of the dinosaur. And it's unfortunate too, because in both Disneyland and Disney World, it was a extremely efficient system. I'm still very much a lines all day. Like, I think you eliminate just keep it simple lines. It works the best. But I thought
one line
the
for
FastPass
everybody.
system, one line for everything.
Yeah.
It works the best. But the FastPass system worked great, especially for Disney World. You got an extra added value with that because you could reserve stuff through the app before your trip. I think it was like 60 days out.
Right.
You could actually make your reservations and everything, which is great. Obviously, Disneyland was still a little bit old school with the paper tickets and everything.
Different
but
customer.
still, totally different system. But it was free. It was free there. You didn't have to spend any money. You did the thing, and you got your time slot, and then you get to enjoy that attraction. So now that we're seeing that, and again, this has been hashed over millions of times by now by other channels and everything, but it's still a sore spot for a lot of people.
Well, when you think about it, they have hit this moment where they're raising ticket prices, right? So now the new goal is, well, how can we make more money with this captive audience? So I just did like basic monkey math, right? These are just basic numbers, which I think I am conservatively low because I don't want to say they're making billions of dollars. I would like to be low, but just to set a number to give people an idea. So if you got 10,000 people a day to buy a $20 Genie Plus Lightning Lane, just the basic service out of the Disneyland park, that's an additional $200,000 a day. And I'm probably low on saying 10,000 people, but just literally by saying, well, what if we got everybody to pay $20 for basic FastPass? Boom, $200,000 a day. If you get another 5,000 people to buy Rise of the Resistance, that's another $100,000 a day. So if you take 30-day month, that's $9 million extra dollars a month. And I think that I'm low on that. I think it'd probably be more somewhere in the ballpark of 15 to 18 million. But over a year's time, with just the bare bones numbers, that's $108 million a year, which is just an easy way to say a thing like FastPass, let's just add a minimal amount of money to it, and we can easily squeeze up. And so essentially, that's another way of taking the ticket price and slowly making it more for those who are willing to pay more.
Yeah. And to your point previously, how obviously with the reservation system, it's not so much a capacity thing as it is they can kind of maintain the crowds and see who is going into parks on any given day. But when you're out of state like I am, you don't have the luxury of being there and going, oh man, it's really crowded. It's really hot. Like I'm bailing. Like
right.
I am, hard in. I'm there for the entire day. I paid for this trip. So you basically have to either suck it up and deal with it, or hey, Lightning Lane, it's only $20 more. What's another $20? And I'm sure it's going to come into play a lot.
And there is a value to the Lightning Lane. When you look at the video that Dylan and I did, Standby versus Lightning Lane, where we showed exactly how much more you can get done. Dylan was able to do twice as much as me by paying $20 more. So as an individual, $20 isn't that much. Family of 5, it's $100. It gets to be a little bit more, kind of costly. But something else I want to break down today, and we'll get to this more in the end of today's discussion, is that $1 is worth something different to everybody. $20 for a Genie Plus is not the same for everyone. For some people, that is an unimaginable amount of money for their family of 5. Like, we're already putting money on the credit card just to go to the park today. So there's no way we're going to do $100 just to skip the lines. And then other people, $20, like, why would I not spend that, And I know people in my life that are on both ends of that spectrum. But the next thing that I want to tell you is one of Disney's newest tricks for profitability and squeezing out more. And I think this is probably one of the smartest ones on today's list, is think about this. Some genius somewhere said, oh man, 365 days in a year, it's just not enough days. What if we were to take some days and to turn them into 2 days? And through the power of ticketing time travel, Disney has figured out a way to make some Tuesdays 2 days. And that's with the after-hour parties. I have a little bit of monkey math for you again here, Tony. This year, we're going to do a hybrid of what we know this year and base some stuff off of the last year when the park reopened. So with 5 Sweetheart Nights at a starting cost of $114, times 10,000 people a night, that's about $5.7 million. 2 Villains Night at a starting point of $119, that's about $2.3 million. If you do the Star Wars Night, That is 3 nights. Starting tickets $134. Not even going to talk about how high the tickets go for when Celebration's in town. That ends up being, I think, $4 million. And then with 25 Oogie Boogie nights, starting ticket at $114. That's like $28 million. And then 5 Merriest nights, $165 each. That's about $8.2 million. So what I've just broken down is a way to add on 40 extra days. So where everybody else is living at 365 days of the year, Disneyland is now operating at 405 plus days, and to the tune of an additional $50 million. And that's me going with 10,000 people per event and the lowest ticket possible. So the idea of taking the day, dividing it in half right now with just me doing like bare minimal money, I've already got Disney at like $170 million more per year off of 2 things that used to be free. It used to be one cost to go to Disneyland from 8 a.m. to midnight. Now select dates, 40 dates a year, depending on the park. That's cut in half. And the FastPass used to be a thing you could get for free. That now all cost extra. But you're seeing where this nickel and diming over the year scope, it's pretty serious money.
But Mark, it's a party. Who doesn't want to be at a party? This is a designated party. No, and that's insane. That's insane money, and it's extremely smart. Whoever thought, I mean, double dipping, who wouldn't in that instance, but that is a considerable amount of money. And I do often wonder too, like with that many dates booked out and you're just there with your family and they're like, sorry, we're closing early. Like, I'm sure there's signs and stuff everywhere, but that's still a bummer as you're like, well, why is the park closing so early? Oh, it's a separate ticketed event that's going to cost you $160. You're like,
Well, it was a real bum out last year when some of these dates got announced late because they were coming out of the COVID closures. And there were people that had reservations on nights that they didn't know that Oogie Boogie was going to happen that night. And there was people that were planning on going to Disneyland proper that didn't know that Merriest Nights was going to happen because historically that had never happened before since it was its inaugural year. I'm not saying that I don't like the after hour parties or events because I really do like them. And I think that there's an extreme value in them. And I always tell people, if you're on a budget and you could only go to the park one day a year, pick one of those parties. The VIP experience, if you don't care about the photo lines, if you don't care about exclusive treats, if you're just there to enjoy the vibes of the park, the vibes are turned up. And if you're just there to enjoy the rides of the park, the lines are the shortest you're going to find all year long. So I'm not saying that I don't like these dates. I'm just saying that it's a genius trick to take the calendar and to cut it in 2. And something else that we've seen from these is certain experiences have now been left only for people that bought the extra ticket. So to see certain characters during Halloween, you had to be a participant of Oogie Boogie. During the holidays, if you wanted to see that Muppet show on Main Street, you had to be a Merriest Nights holder. I mean, there are certain things that you only get when you buy these tickets. So it's taking experiences too and shoveling them over to, well, you may be a Magic Key holder, but can we get an extra ticket out of you because your Magic Key is no good, friend, when we cut the day in 2.
Yeah, and we haven't even talked about the biggest magic trick that they do, which is where as soon as they give you a window for your party, the time just slips through your fingers. You're having so much fun. There's not enough time. There's never enough time at these events. And it feels like at the start of it, you have all the time in the world. And slowly but surely, you're looking for special edition churros or some limited merch or this character, this meet and greet. And it just slips through your fingers. And meanwhile, the Disney's already got your money. The event, the party's over and you didn't even know it.
Hey, those parties are the fastest 4 hours. But that being said, with the 3 hours you get ahead of time, I highly, highly recommend coming to these parties for people that are coming in from out of town, for people that can only go once. This is a must buy, but it is so smart as a way to get other people that go to the park weekly, monthly, quarterly to go, I know that I have this key, but this is a way for me to buy another ticket because I figured out a way to cut the day in 2. The next one that I have on my list, which is interesting, like really interesting. Let's talk about perceived value, right? everything in this world has a perceived value to it. So when you buy an annual pass, what it does is you say, oh, well, back in the days before Magic Keys, buying the pass, the perceived value was I can go to Disneyland any day that I want to. So part of the freedom that you had from that was you could go whenever you want. From people that coming in from out of town, all they had to do was buy a ticket. That's why the greatest next magic trick, and it's something that if I was a business owner, I would never get rid of this, is the theme park reservation, right? Now, even though technically the theme park doesn't cost you any extra, the reason why it's a magic trick is you used to just be able to go whenever you want. And even though there's not an extra ticket cost associated to it, it's now you have an ownership over your date, right? Your visit. So you're more apt to not cancel. If you have that date and you have that reservation, you're going to hold on to it and you're going to go. Whereas before it's like, maybe we'll go to Disneyland on Friday. Things happen. Thursday's busy. You look over at your partner and you go, it's been a rough week. I don't know if I've got it in me to go to Disney tomorrow night. But now, come hell or high water, you will fight your way there because you have the sacred reservation. And also something that really had kind of no value to you now, or used to have no value, is now the most valued thing for Magic Key holders. What do you hear key holders talk about the most? Reservations, reservations. All of the blogs, when there's more reservations, they go up. So even though there's not a hard cost on it, it is one of the most valuable things. And I say, not only does it make people cancel less, it's making people go more. Because you used to have the idea of, I bought this pass and I can go however many times I want to. But now that you're limited to 3, 5, 6 at a time, you want to make sure that you're using those so that you're getting your value. So the reservation, I think, has made the actual going to Disneyland feel more valuable. It's added more ownership to the dates that you get. Therefore, once again, something that you never even thought about before has an extreme value to it.
Yeah, the reservation system is the equivalent of like asking your mom to drive you to the mall, because like you need that like that chaperone to tell you can go and do something. You no longer have free reign to just go to the mall with your friends whenever you want. You got to check in. You got to have somebody get you in there to have a good time. But also too, I mean, that whole reservation system is just pure data. And we are living in a data-driven world, and that is the biggest resource that giant conglomerates use. So yeah, that system is never going away because they have pinpoint accuracy with reservations, and they can see everything they need to know. They can get with that information, and it's not going away anytime soon.
When I see some of my peers say, oh, reservations will probably go away, or they root for them to go away, I say, are you insane? Like, why would you ever get rid of that data? The thing I could see them doing before they get rid of reservations is creating a service where you can get the reservations faster than everybody else, like a lightning lane for reservations. Or I could also see them doing some sort of thing in the app where it's like, win the daily lottery, refresh your app at 2:00 to catch any reservations that had opened up day of, there is no reason to give that back for free. In fact, none of these things will go away. This will be the basis of everything moving forward. So that's why I thought it would be interesting at this moment to talk about what's next, because we've given you 3 big examples, and I'd love to hear from you at home. We've looked at the FastPass, we've looked at the actual just date to go there, and we've also looked at cutting the day in half to do the upsell for the after-hour parties. The original upcharge of something that should have just been free or included with your ticket was parking, right? Like, everybody knows parking is the biggest scam that ever existed. Every arena, every convention center, every theme park, parking is the scam that just won't die. How many times over do you think Mickey and Friends parking structure has paid for itself? How long do you think that it took them to pay for the Toy Story parking lot? Like, owning a parking lot is like owning a gold mine or an oil refinery, because it just doesn't stop making money. Invest in parking. Bitcoin's going to go away, but parking is forever.
Pretty much. Yep. Couldn't have said it better. Exactly.
I think also something that we're looking at for the future, and think about this, could transportation be something that Disney charges for in the future. Now, I don't know about my precious Disneyland, but when we look out at Walt Disney World, there was the free shuttle service that people absolutely loved. That has gone away. So in essence, Disney's not charging for it, but there is that new company that's popped up that you can use that has the buses that looks like trains. But would we ever see Disney on property do a transportation service? Is that a place to squeeze in an extra upsell?
Yeah, I don't know if it makes sense for Disneyland just because it's so small comparatively to Disney World. But hey, I am going this coming Wednesday, and I actually booked the new. It's called Mears Connect, is the new shuttle service, and yeah, it was free. It was free. It was run by Disney, well, in conjunction with Mears, the busing company. And so it's bizarre to have I have to go to a separate portal. I booked it. I think it was like $30 a person round trip to and from the airport. They take you to your resort, but it's something where I got so used to that service. And then I was like, oh, I have to pay for this now. Yeah. And it was a total bum out, but yeah. I'm like, yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, they got 30 extra bucks out of me for something that was free. Again, it's not Disney anymore, but still, yeah, I bought into it.
Well, that's an interesting one too, where if Disney steps away from things, it opens a room for the private sector to come in. So now there is this other transportation service that's in there. I'd be curious, did they have to buy any sort of licensing deal? You know, I mean, if Disney's recommending their shuttles at all, then there's got to be some sort of exchange in there. But another one that an item that was free, you know, part of your ticket. I guess nothing's technically free when you're buying a ticket to get in, but the character meet and greet. We're seeing characters at 2 parks out on the East Coast, Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios. They have select character meet and greets. Vast amount of them are still free, but here on the West Coast, what's the future of the reimagined Toontown? And a little guesstimate is the $300 for you and 10 of your friends to get 90 minutes inside of Mickey's house. I mean, that is already a thing that you could just stand in line all day for to do the character meet and greet. Now it's you, 10 of your friends, $300 to do activities inside of 90 minutes in his house. And I'll say this, I get a lot of pushback on these episodes where people are like, well, did you ever think that maybe they can't do these things because of COVID? Go to the park right now. COVID doesn't exist, bro. It is, everybody is packed everywhere you look. Every ride vehicle has somebody sitting in every single seat. All of the buildings, the only thing that you can tell is that people are wearing masks when they go indoors, and the park looks junky because there's little hand sanitizer things now strapped to the different light fixtures, which don't really match the original integrity of the light fixtures. So character meet and greets didn't come back at our park. Well, the specific ones in Toontown didn't come back. That's just a scheduling thing because everything else that is in that same realm of COVID protocol is back online. But they did find a way to get 10 people in there for $300. So character meet and greets, some will still be free, but an upcharge for those that are willing to pay.
I'll only pay extra if I can go hang out with Doofus. And because who doesn't want to hang with Doofus? I feel like he'd be pretty cheap, actually.
Doofus is one of my favorite characters. All right. Another one is, do you think, and this is one, once again, me projecting, but people have complained so much about mobile ordering, and the dining reservation system has become one of the most complicated things here at Disneyland. We don't have as many sit-down restaurants as they do out on the East Coast. So the ones that we do have, it's like, I literally could probably make a couple of phone calls and get into Club 33. I have no idea how to get into Blue Bayou. You know what I mean? Like, it's insane. So my question is this. Do you think there could be a lightning lane for mobile orders? For example, when you do DoorDash, it's 45 minutes to get your food here. But if you do the that's for standard. But if you do the expedite, pay $5 more, you can get your food here faster. Or another question for you, do you think there'd ever be a service where it's like, if you pay for the service or you do an upgrade, you can, as soon as reservations become available, they will be allotted to you versus having to wait in line for it. You can just say, I want reservations on this date. When they open up, because you're Reservation Plus, because you got to put a plus next to everything these days, then they would just know that you want a table on June 5th. When June 5th opens up, boom, it goes over into your account.
Well, thank you, Mark, for manifesting this into reality, because this is going to happen. This is literally like, as Mark was talking, about this this dinner reservation or dining reservation system, I was just like having like Terminator 2 like future scenes play out of my mind of like people fighting to get reservations, because it's going to happen. Like, we think park reservations are bad. Wait till they start charging for dining reservations. Yeah, it is. Man, dining is such a mess right now. And I don't think so much. Oh, mobile order can get pretty crazy too, but especially I know just that experience out in Disney World, reservations are still extremely hard to come by. People are having to go to like third-party websites to get like, pay money to try to figure out when they can get a reservation in. And because here's the thing is like, I think any Disney trip, you always want to have at least like one nice sit down, dinner
just
or breakfast, something
in your back
gotta
pocket.
Gotta have one.
Yeah.
So to not have that, you're just standing around eating corn dog nuggets or churros and stuff, like it gets real old real fast. So I 100% did not even think that was a possibility, but now that you have brought it into reality, that is 100% coming. I would not be surprised if a Disney exec was listening to this somehow and they were like, Mark, this was on my list. You just made it a reality. So thanks, Mark. Thank you for all of the Disney park fans, because that's on you now.
Friends, you're all welcome. I don't think I'm too far off from flirting this type of an idea, because there's already the idea of dining packages to get you preferred seating for nighttime shows. So if you do a World of Color dining package over at Carthay Circle, you'd get the World of Color spot. I'm assuming that these will be around for Fantasyland. So in a way, the premier seat or spot has already existed, but it was sort of a transactional thing where, well, since you bought a nice meal, you're also a part of this. But I would think that space is one to keep your eyes on, because they're getting aggressive on trying to figure out where can we put a ticket where there wasn't one before. And then sort of another one to back up this idea is we've had Club 33 in New Orleans Square for decades. For 2 decades, we've had 1901. Well, not 2 decades, 10 years plus. We've had 1901 at the base of Carthay Circle. So there's 2 small locations that are for certain people of a certain tier, Club 33 members. However, now we're getting the Magic Key Terrace at DCA. So there is half of a restaurant that only people that have spent a certain amount of money are allowed to go to. And I just want to sort of get people used to this idea as they're getting aggressive as a business, as they're finding more and more ways to make the park more profitable. I think this is the new rule you should live by, so that you don't get blown away and your feelings don't get hurt. If it has a gate, if it has a door, if there's a rope to get to it, if it has a seat, if it can be defined as a spot in any sort of a line, real world or virtual, it can and it will be sold. And I think that Disneyland is really in many ways a mirror to the society that it's supposed to be an escape from, because ticket prices will always go up, but now we'll learn so will the experiences. We now live in a Disneyland that is designed to be a multi-tier pricing structure. So therefore, Disneyland now has an upper class, which is the Club 33 member. It has a upper middle class, which are those that are willing to do Genie Plus, and those that are willing to do the pay per ride and buy all the extras. It has just a middle class of people that are willing to pay a ticket and go in and buy food and merchandise. And it even has a lower class of people that are only able to afford to go in with a ticket, bring their own lunches, leave the park for their food, don't do merchandise, and don't do any of the upgrades. They stand in the back for the fireworks. They wait in an hour and a half line for Rise of the Resistance. And in many ways, I think Walt would be very happy about this, because this means that Disneyland is finally a real city full of its own classes and its own structure. They have found a way to completely make escapism mirror the reality that we're trying to get away from.
Yep. And I have been at both ends of those spectrums. So yeah, it is what it is. There's definitely, there's a class system in there, but hey, it's all good, because now I can say that I am Club 33 adjacent. So There we go. We're going to be up in that vista looking out and sipping on, I don't know what they serve up there. They have to have some glow grapes or something, hopefully, for us.
We'll get some glow cubes.
We're 33 adjacent. We get glow grapes.
That's right. Just one step down. Magic key. Friends, there is a quick look at the new Disney tricks that they're using to make their park more profitable, finding different ways to charge for things where they didn't in the past. And I want to let everybody know that I'm working on a video right now because there is a movement that's happening online where there is a shareholder vote that's coming up. And a lot of people are starting to float out the idea that if you are a shareholder and you're unhappy with the way that the park is going, maybe vote no against Bob Chapek. I want to kind of get in there and realize and investigate how much power do the shareholders actually have. And then again, like, what do we actually know about Chapek? Has he just been the mascot for all things that have gone wrong? And it's definitely an interesting time in the parks. But I thought that looking at the new tricks that Disney's using to make the parks more profitable would be an interesting way to sort of project where the company's going and to just get prepared for what might be around the corner. And hey, there's lots of theme parks. You have lots of decisions. Nobody's making you go. So if this becomes a push too much, you always have the right to spend your money and your time elsewhere. Tony, thank you so much for hanging out with me.
Thank you. This is great. And you made me realize that I have bought into like 3 out of 4 of these things, I think, something like that. So yeah, I do the parties, I do the shuttles, I do. Yeah, I'm pretty much into the Disney park ecosystem heavily. So
it's working. Friends, if you want to listen to an hour more of content, join us right now over at club1313.com. That is the community that helps support all of my content. We have an amazing Discord where people are on there hanging out all the time, meeting up in the parks, having a good time. We just had our 1-year anniversary, which was so exciting to really build this fun and exciting community. And on top of that, you get more content that other folks don't get on the podcast or over on YouTube. Friends, until the next time I see you standing in the middle of the park with your phone out going, oh my God, I just paid what for what that used to be free. I'll see you back here next week with another episode of Disneyland for Designers with my good friend, Tony Mendez.